This is my 2002 Land Rover Defender TD5.
And to be brutally honest, I completely forgot that I own this thing.
And yeah, it doesn't look great,
Which you would expect, as last year I'd attacked it with my sander.
but it did look a lot worse.
The year was 2024, the day before New Year's Eve. This was the year I just bought the cheapest Land Rover Series 3 in the entire UK, so I thought what better way to celebrate than potentially buy another Land Rover.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna get weird. 2 dragons.
So naturally, I did what anyone would do in this situation. Consumed copious amounts of beer and started looking for cars.
To my delight, I stumbled across what looked to be the cheapest high-spec Defender in the UK.
This thing had remote central locking, electric windows and air conditioning. It was perfect. Well, kind of perfect.
You see, the car was very tired from a bodywork perspective. It was covered in dents and peeling paint. The thing needed a good going over, but whilst I had the time to prep the car, in between jobs, I didn't have the time to paint it.
So on this occasion, I put my paint away and instructed a body shop to do the respray. I dropped it off with the painter middle of December 2025. I thought they'll only have it a few months, but sadly, many months on, I had yet to still see the truck. But by using the power of a well-edited video and clicking my fingers,
The car was sprayed.
ta-da! Yes, the Defender is back in my possession. It's back on the drive, and fundamentally it's back on the channel. Now, if you've followed me for a few years, you would know that I picked this up almost 18 months ago now, and I can't believe we're standing here today and we're looking upon it, the glorious new bodywork that it is sporting, that I should probably mention I only paid £1,300 for, but I will let you be the judge of that paint job, because I'm going to spin you around, give you a tour of the Defender in its current state. Let's get up close and personal to the bodywork, and obviously from 6 maybe 10 feet away it does look pretty good, right? And bearing in mind I paid a body shop, or should I say a painter who works on a farm in a unit, £1,300 for this respray. And as I mentioned in the intro, I did a lot of the prep myself just to keep the costs down. We'll notice that if we look inside the cab, it's basically gutted both inside the front and the back, and it was only a blowover of the front, so the doors, the rear quarters, the arches and the bonnet, wings and whatnot that I wanted, because it was looking a bit multicoloured where I'd started to sand it down. But if we get really close, we can notice a couple of things, like there's a lot of compound sort of excess left over. We can see things like polishing here where the base coat and lacquer's gone on, and then he's tried to finish it with a polisher but not quite finished a few bits, and I said do not worry about those little spots that you've missed with the polisher. I have a polisher, I have compound, I can go ahead and finish that. That's all part of the fun, right? I've got to do something. On the whole, for the money, it's looking pretty good. There's a little bit of orange peel at the back, and the door isn't great. There's a dent. I said, don't worry about that. That was never part of the brief. And to be fair, this door contains a swing away spare wheel carrier, so most of that is hidden. But on the whole, it just transforms the car. You can see in places it is absolutely stunning. And the roof, which had lacquer peel, well, that's all gone. But one observation is the whole car is covered in overspray dust. See there? And if we open up the back door, if I can get that open, we can see in the back it's looking pretty sorry for itself. Very, very dusty. So I think the first job that's in order is to get this thing cleaned, get it back to looking relatively tidy, and then I'll break down what we're going to be doing as the next major stage to this project.
Now, most parts of the UK are currently experiencing a hosepipe ban, which is far from ideal given there is a whole lot of truck here that needs cleaning. However, I'm finding my trusty watering can, a bucket of warm soapy water, is doing the job just fine. I'm using a microfiber in the hope that because of the texture and the quality, it'll strip back the bits of old polish from the paint trouble free. Every part of the truck gets a good going over, leaving no stone unturned. The wheels respond really well to a nice soapy bath. The number plate was cable tied on for transporting the vehicle, but we'll attach this properly later on. With the bodywork nice and clean, it's time to start thinking about tidying up the interior. I find liberal amounts of soapy water in a spray bottle is all I need to cut through the dust and the grime from the respray. I'm pretty sure the car was polished on a warm day because the compound overspray stuck like glue to the paintwork. It took some real elbow grease to get rid of it. The back of the truck needed emptying out. Then blowing out all of the large bits of dirt. Then plenty of soapy water and a rag to get rid of the dust. The rear corner sills weren't finished off, so I used the time now to get the fillet back in. The dust got everywhere and I wanted it spotless before working on it. The previous owners had a horse and the truck was used for show weekends, so it had a lot of riveted on bits and pieces which I had no use for anymore. So I decided now was a good time to drill these things out. With the truck nice and clean inside and out, it's time to start thinking about the rest of the glasswork. The first epic being the windscreen. I used a silicone tube end to slide paracord inside the windscreen seal. This will become obvious in a bit. Allegedly this job can be done with just one person, but I called upon my wife for a helping hand just to apply pressure from the outside whilst I worked the windscreen seal in its place. This is where the paracord comes in. It helps to pull out from the inside and that lips the seal over the edge of the windscreen frame. With the final corner pulled over, I attend to the parts of the seal on the outside just to make sure it sits flat to the body. And it's done.
Right, so the Defender has now got its windscreen in and it is looking a lot tidier both outside and in. But let's keep the glazing theme going because we have the Alpine windows just up there in the roof still to fit. And I don't just want to go ahead and fit them standard. So what I've done is go ahead and purchase arguably the cheapest set of window tinting film, which I'm going to do myself. We'll get them tinted and get them in. So let's do that.
Now, tinting windows is something I can safely say I have zero experience in doing. A lot of my vehicles have tints, but that's because they already came with them on. I would imagine starting with very clean glass is key, so I use a rag and a Stanley blade to clean the dirt and grime from the windows. Making sure the surface I'm about to attempt to work on is clean, I release the product from its packaging. I roll out the film over the window so I can work out roughly where to go ahead and cut it. With the size cut, I stow away the excess film, then spray the glass with some soapy water and use 2 pieces of sticky tape, opposite ends, to help peel the protective film away from the tinting film. I then lay down the film in place. Then I attempt to squidgy out the water, which brings the air bubbles out with it. I really struggle to get the air out. It appears to be grouping together in long lines, which I'm a bit confused about. I thought I would cut off some excess film next. Then continue to try and purge the air from underneath. I'm finding that the adhesive just doesn't appear to be bonding after squidgying out the air, so the film just keeps lifting from the glass. We can see the finish just isn't great, so I decide to peel this off and have another go at it. I've got plenty of spare film. Sadly, my second attempt, whilst better, still has micro bubbles across most of the face of it, and the edges I just cannot get right. After 2 attempts, I decide clearly I'm not skilled enough for this job and rip off the tint so I can just focus on installing the glass. Unlike the windscreen sill, the Alpine window sill goes onto the roof cutout first. Then we slide the glass into place. Again, they say this is a one-person job, but honestly, if you can get someone inside the truck to support the sill and the glass as you apply pressure, do it. The thing that holds the window in place is a fillet, which is a strip of rubber that pops in the centre of the sill and prizes open the sill to its maximum width, keeping everything tight. A special tool to spread the sill and a helper to pop the fillet in really makes light work of doing this bit. There is now just the other side to do, which using some magical editing was completed in no time at all.
Right, Alpine windows, completed it, mate, and I'm so chuffed. They're looking pretty good, and I am a bit gutted that I couldn't tint them. You know, I gave it a good couple of goes, but if they ain't perfect, they're not going on the truck. So yeah, obviously shout out to my wife who gave me a hand, and if you are thinking at home of doing your Alpine window sills, I would say get a friend in, because it more than halves the time. But yeah, they're in. I don't have to think about any more glazing until we come to building up the doors. We've just got the side windows to do, which will make the vehicle watertight. But the question is, what do we address next? And if you look over my shoulder, you will see something on those wings that sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's the checker plate.
So clearly, the colour scheme of this car appears to be going down the route of red and black, and this checker plate isn't any of those. So it's time to get this off and start thinking about a colour change. With the plate unbolted, I use a Scotch-Brite to key the surface all over it. The reason for using a Scotch-Brite over sandpaper is because of its spongy feel to the pad. It should make contact with all of the high and low spots across the plate. I pay particular attention to prepping the edges, as from my little experience with painting, it's often these edges which are vulnerable to paint not bonding right, resulting in lifting, and then the rest of the paint could peel away from those points. I'm also giving the plastic parts which go onto the front wings a good key. I figure as I'm painting the checker plate black, I may as well get these looking blacker. With everything keyed up, I use brake cleaner and an airline to clean off the surfaces. Then I can start putting some etch primer onto the checker plate. Etch primer has an acid in it which helps bite into the aluminium. This gives a really strong bond and seal for the paint that goes on top. It is key for painting bare metal surfaces. The plastic parts get the same cleaning treatment, but this time I'm using a plastic primer, not an etch primer. It has to be a plastic primer simply because plastic behaves very differently to metal. With all the plastic parts primed, I then go over with a cheap acrylic satin black paint. The satin looks great, but I want these parts to reflect the light as best as possible, so once dry, I then throw some clear coat on top of it. The clear coat gives a smooth, shiny and durable finish. When fitted back on the Defender, it looks so much better than the silver finish it had before. Tidy. Whilst the checker plate was drying, I started on a few little bitty bits at the back of the truck, like the number plate light, then the rear upper door seal, and then the rear lower door seals, which first required cutting to length, then putting in place, then drilling each hole out, and finally screwing in the supplied screws to tightly couple the seal to the floor. The back of the Landy is subject to a finished floor, but for now I'm just trying to keep the water out. Back around to the front, I fit the number plate properly by drilling holes in it which go through the bumper and then using some retaining bolts to hold it in place.
Okay folks, so with the outside of the truck starting to look very aesthetically pleasing, I think now is an opportunity to start moving inside and talking about today's sponsor. You see, this is not just a traditional sponsorship. No, this is a collaboration with a company that aligns perfectly with the goals, the ethos of what this truck build represents. You see, when it comes to building a Chelsea tractor, it is not necessarily about its capability. It's more the drivability. And when it comes to making a vehicle nice to drive, you have to focus on removing the very things that you do not like when driving. For me, in my old age, one thing that really bugs me in my Land Rover is the noise, which is why I have teamed up with a company whose sole goal is to remove noise from the cabin of your classic or even modern car, improving the experience for you when you're on the road.
And the company I am talking about is Noise Killers. They're an independent, high-quality, UK-based specialist who cut and tailor sound deadening and soundproofing kits for an array of different vehicles. Noise Killers have kindly sent a sound deadening kit, which this alone will greatly reduce the noise from getting into the cab.
The way it fundamentally works is this Class O fire-rated polymer pad sticks to the panels in question, greatly reducing the vibrations inside the cab, making my ride a lot more comfortable. For example, this is my seat box before fitting Noise Killers to it. And here we have my driver side seat box now coated in the Noise Killers sound deadening, which if we tap it, feels a lot more solid. You can just feel all the vibrations have gone from the panel. Such a difference.
What is also great about this kit is three things. The first is the pieces are precision cut, so each piece arrives cut to shape, so saves you bags of time not having to do this part yourself. Secondly, each pad has an adhesive backing, so you don't need to worry about adding your own glue. Just peel the backing paper and stick to a clean, grease-free surface. For this build, I will be using both this sound deadening kit, and in the next episode we'll add soundproofing on top, but a soundproofing kit alone should knock a large percentage of the noise levels down in the vehicle. I just want to take this build that extra mile and sound deaden underneath first. If you're looking to start making your Land Rover or any classic car more comfortable to drive, reach out to Noise Killers. They have both an Instagram page and a YouTube channel, which you'll find links for in the description of this video. So why not head over there and subscribe to see their products used liberally across a multitude of vehicles. Even better still, if you contact them and mention the code on the screen, they'll be able to provide you with some money off your purchase of their products. Thanks.
Okay, so with the Noise Killers sound deadening kit applied throughout the entire truck, that will be waiting patiently until the next episode where we'll build upon that foundation and think about soundproofing. But now I want to move on to more bolt-on bits, and the next thing in question are these horrendous steps. If I take you in close, it's probably worth mentioning that these are the genuine Land Rover steps. Yes, these will be the ones that Land Rover should have shipped this Defender with off of the actual production line, and it's a shame because I really do like this style. The double step looks really good, it's just the right profile, but sadly if we get close we'll see rot on this end, and if we look across the other side we'll also see some rot. So let's think about unbolting these steps and putting on our replacement. So down under the truck it does look like there's just a handful of fixings that hold these steps on, so I think we'll go ahead, unbolt them and then get the new ones bolted on. So let's do that now.
The fittings for these steps have likely never been undone for 24 years, so naturally a bit of map gas to help persuade the nuts off is essential. The first of the rear fittings puts up a fight, but eventually does undo. The second, however, was mega rusty and difficult to get to, so I used my grinder to just chop off the end of the bolt. At the front, the large retaining nut could also do with some heat. The heat essentially expands the nut, and this generally breaks the seal that the rust would have developed between the nut and the threads over time. I try my little breaker bar, but after just a few subtle turns, I don't mess around, I just bang the impact gun onto the end and off it comes. All that remains now is just one stabiliser bar fixing, which was surprisingly easy to undo with 2 spanners. I give the whole steps a little bit of a wiggle, and eventually they lift away from the side of the Land Rover.
Okay folks, there we have it. The old steps are now unbolted from the truck. And if you're curious, what am I going to replace this now piece of scrap metal with? I'll just put this one down and pick this one up. This is our single tubular powder coated step, and at first glance it isn't going to bolt straight on. So let's get back under the truck and work out the lay of the land. Right. Oh, hello. Oh, hi David, you alright? Hiya, you alright? What do you actually want? Just halfway through spraying this Series 3 and I wondered if I could just pop in, use the garage to mix a bit of paint up for my spray gun. Well, how long is that actually going to take? I mean, I'll only be like a few minutes or so. Is that all right? I'll be honest, David, I want to get these side steps on the Defender and then I've got a few more other jobs. Do you actually need to spray it? Have you got anyone waiting? I've got obviously a few subscribers waiting patiently. Yeah, but I've also got a load of people watching me right now and, you know, they want to see me fit the steps. Half of them probably aren't subscribed. Obviously, if you're not subscribed, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. That would be amazing. But David, can you just come back in a bit, mate? Because I just want to get this truck to a nice sort of rounded off episode 1. All right? Okay, say no more. I'll come back after this episode. Good luck with the Defender. Thank you. Goodbye. Bye. Right, sorry. Let's get back on the steps. Okay everyone, so I think you'll agree the steps are looking on point. They are a vast improvement as to what was fitted before. What was fitted before is now in my van, ready to go to the scrapyard. But I think it's time to make our way around the back of the truck and start to think about tidying this up. Obviously it's functional, the lights work and whatnot, but I'd like to get the swing away wheel carrier on the back because there's no point driving the vehicle without a spare. So let's think about getting that minted up, and also the lights. You know, the front is looking lovely with its clear LED lights, but the back has these original colourful ones. So let's see if we can swap those out. And I also have another little surprise just to break the back up to go on over this side, which I will reveal in a bit. But first, the spare wheel carrier. And here is my swing away spare wheel carrier, or at least the components that make up the wheel carrier. Now I put these in my shed the best part of 18 months ago, and it's been great getting them out, although it has reminded me how tired each component is looking. We've got signs of flaking paint, we've even got rust showing through. So it'd be great to get all of that right back to not necessarily bare metal, but to a point where we can throw some paint on it. Now, unlike the checker plate, the grille or the headlight surrounds, I won't be going for gloss black. I'll probably just go for satin. I want the wheel carrier to blend in with the back door and let the spare wheel become the feature. But that's enough talking about the doing. Let's crack on.
This wheel carrier was extremely tired. Of all the parts so far, this one probably needs the most amount of TLC. I'm not chasing perfection on this thing, mainly down to the fact most of it sits hidden behind the spare wheel when bolted to the back door. But if I can slow the aging process down and get it all one shade of black, I shall. With the pieces now freshened up, I start bolting them to the back of the truck. It's at this stage I quickly learn that when I took the thing off, I really should have made an effort to photograph or video the process in detail. The top mount was challenging to line up, and I failed to realise I fitted it the wrong way round. Not quite realising why things weren't square, I pushed on. Then started fitting the back plate. This centrepiece bolts to the door but slides along the swing away carrier, so I use plenty of copper slip as this used to creak before. I couldn't quite work out the order of the pieces as it felt a bit chicken and egg. I then had a light bulb moment in that the back plate had to be fitted first, which meant I had to unbolt the swing away arm, then mate it with the back plate. With it mated, I attempt to line it back up with the pivot points. It's at this point I realise the top mount I fitted incorrectly earlier doesn't line up very well. Still not realising, I pushed on, but then found out the door wouldn't close due to the misalignment, so proceeded to remove the wheel carrier, unbolt the top mount, then refit it in the correct position. The door now swings freely. Success! But I had missed a top bolt on the plate and this can't be fitted in situ. So off comes the carrier again and the bolt fitted. I grease up the top and bottom carrier pivot points. Then realise I was missing some large washers on the inside of the door to spread the weight. Which also made me realise I've only fitted 4 of the 6 bolts. There were 6 bolts?
So despite several unsuccessful attempts at fitting this spare wheel carrier and then getting to this stage which I thought was successful, turns out I fitted this backplate the wrong way round. It only came to light when I was fitting the spreader washers on the inside of the door. I noticed there were holes 5 and 6, came round here, noticed these holes go into a panel, which means that this is obviously the wrong way round because that hole needs to be down there. I'm losing my patience, and if I'm honest, I'm not going to film me stripping this back down and refitting it. We're just going to do this lightning quick like this.
And the wheel carrier is officially installed correctly after going a little bit mad. Which means it's now time to work on the lights next, swapping out both the tail lights and the indicators for LED replacements. In addition, the fog light surround gets a tiny lick of satin black paint, then a smoked LED replacement goes in. Now, my little surprise I mentioned earlier is this black aluminium ladder to break up the left hand side a bit, which simply bolts at the bottom through the rear crossmember mounting holes and at the top through the roof once 2 holes were drilled. There was a random hole in the roof which I simply sealed up with some sealant and a black cap. And then I finish off the back with a black plastic lock surround just to smarten up the hole. Then the final piece to this rear puzzle being the Defender 90 logo. Having gone ahead and tested the lights, I noticed they were all flashing super fast. This is because the resistance across all of the indicators has now dropped, mainly down to the fact they're LEDs and not traditional bulbs. So I managed to find the solution in the form of an adjustable flasher unit, which once installed, brought the flashing back to a normal speed. Excellent.
Right everyone, so I do believe we are getting very close to the end of this episode. Now I'm really chuffed with how the back came out with all of the bells and whistles bolted onto it. And I managed to go out this morning, use my friend's garage. He has a tyre machine, kindly let me use that, and I managed to go ahead, seat a new tyre onto the spare rim that I managed to source. And yeah, that's now sat on the back of the spare wheel carrier and it's just looking absolutely on point. And the whole truck has really come together very nicely, but we are not done. This is very much episode 1 of a few. I know there's going to be a lot of you out there thinking, my word, David, are you ever going to finish anything? Well, probably not is the answer, because I'm juggling the Defender Chelsea tractor build on the cheap. I'm juggling this crash damage Porsche Cayman S. And earlier you saw Sprayer David working through the Series 3. And that will probably be the next episode. I'm hoping to get that thing really complete from a paint perspective and move that forward. And I know a lot of you who have already subscribed to me in the past are eager to see the finish. But anyway, yes, I do believe this concludes episode 1 of the Defender cheapish Chelsea tractor build. And I hope you've enjoyed everything we've done today. The truck is more than drivable. I mean, there's a few niggles, but we won't get onto them in this episode. We'll wait until episode 2. Obviously, if you've enjoyed the content in this one, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. That would be most welcome. And give me a thumbs up. Maybe drop me a comment, suggestions of products that you think I should throw onto this truck. That would be amazing. But until next time, obviously I bid you all farewell. Have an amazing weekend and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.